And you see, when I have, just a side comment, when I have a presentation, I wouldn't repeat what is already in the presentation. You know, some presenters try to read, business process management is a discipline that improves. Well, your audience already is seeing that, so I don't have to repeat reading that. So, you know, also keep improving on your presentation skills. I am by far not the master of it, but I try to improve, avoid ums and ahs, you know, have a confidence in your voice and practice. You know, this is a kind of a family session in a class, so it's okay to make mistakes. So feel at ease and take advantage of the opportunities of the presentations and practice in your voice and confidence and delivery skills. On the right side, you see there's the design and modeling, execution, modeling, and optimization as you know, 5 important steps associated with the process management. I just defy what I said earlier, so I repeated what I'm showing. This is the gist of Michael Hammer's book on process management. He was, God bless, you know, a guru on the process management, MIT professor, passed away, known in this area. And basically this chart, I'm kind of putting all his, you know, a big book on this for you here. You can see and take advantage of it. So it's basically, if we want to have a goal and then take certain activities and have a strategy to achieve that goal, and then we have iterations to see whether we are doing okay or not, and then constantly rethinking of the activities and process and strategies based on the measurements that we do, so that we can improve and bring up those indices. You know, how many material am I learning by this process that I have? My activities are, you know, doing snippets of Python code, for example, to learn my Python programming in the context of machine learning. I do that on a continuous basis every day, because it's like every other skill, I have to be regular, so that it would be more effective, as opposed to leave it a few days and go back to it. So I do that. So that's a strategy that I have in my learning process. Then at the end of the week, I can look back and see, okay, I had a goal of learning such and such topics, and did I do it or not? Do I know those topics? Can I do programming, achieving those type of results? Yes or no? How many? So I can measure my performance. So these are the, you know, again, key performance indicators. This is, by the way, applicable in any context. So you do any business or personal side, you feel free, highly recommended to have this perspective. It is important to identify what it is that we are trying to create a process for, who are the customers, what is the output, what is the purpose, what is that we want to produce. Again, be clear. Remember the ISO 9001 motto is tell what you do and do what you tell. So it is important to be clear about what the input is, what it is that I'm going to produce, you know, articulating what it is. It's has a synergy in also helping get a better understanding of what we want to do. Breakdown of the task into subtask, and you know, organizing what it is that the activities are involved. Again, monitoring it. Recommender engines used to be referred to some expert systems in older days, but it's a it's a combination. Decision support systems and recommender systems kind of have overlap. So what is an expert system? It's the reusability of the knowledge. So we want to have a refinement on the process is based on the expert knowledge that is organized so that we can reuse it. So an expert system takes an input as a query, of a question, and then provides an output as a recommendation or an advice. There is an inferential engine in the middle, and there is a knowledge base. So knowledge base is also an important component when we do recommender systems or chatbot recommender systems. KPIs, communication, business intelligence is about dashboards and having effective key performance indicators, how to monitor the performance, for example, of the model. You could have a dashboard that constantly look at the performance of the champion model in the production in reference to the actuals to see how far the model is doing the prediction. And the design of the KPIs is also an important part of the data science activities, because the business owners need some mathematical models to create do some jujitsu on different indices and create aggregate indices. Like I said earlier, instead of having tens of hundreds of different attributes, we can create a proxy of the aggregation of all those. I gave you the example of in the stock market, when we have an aggregate stock that is derived from a variety of different stocks, and you just look at that and you get a sense of all of the performance of all those stocks. Again, be creative in using the visual means to create your graphs. Take advantage of what are the techniques that are available in dashboard. There is another course in dashboard. We don't focus on creating the dashboard, but the data science ties in with the business intelligence and dashboard design. And you will be doing the visualization as part of your assignments. So this is a high-level overview of more detailed activities. You see the streamlines and the rows from the top. You do the formulation, getting the requirements. Then in the second swim lane, you do the kind of simplifying the data. You may have hundreds of different attributes, but you do fine classing to maybe be more economic. Instead of using 200 attributes, there may be a subset of 50 that would do as good as those 200, but your model would run much faster. So this is the activity on the swim lane 2 on the top. And then modeling, we do the evaluation and do neural net, decision tree, for example, random forest, and using different representation of the data, and then do the evaluation, and then do the analysis. And these all ties in. There are iterations throughout these activities that give value to each other. For example, you do the modeling, but then you go back and change the business formulation, or you go back and add more data. You do some correlation and causation analysis. You do clustering, and maybe create new flags as part of the clustering to include in your data to improve your classification. And then you do visualization to communicate the insights on the 4th swim lane, and then bring in the analytics result as part of your data mart, and at the bottom you hand off the scoring program, which is the artifact of the actual model that is used to do the prediction. So let's have you try. I'm kind of wanted to give you a couple of programs to run. So I just go a little bit quicker. Different tools. Which one of these is a bigger undertaking? So the intention of this quiz is basically have you develop a sense of what is involved in different activities of machine learning or natural language processing. You did the quiz 1, the clustering and classification are kind of the building blocks of these other more elaborate activities of natural language processing. For example, translation is a very complicated NLP task that requires a lot of different subcomponents. You kind of orchestrate different components to achieve that. Similarly, for question answering system, there are so many different components at play, including clustering and classification, to do a good job to create a decent question answering system. So we'll have one session allocated to recommender systems right before the final presentations toward the end of the course. But I just want you to be cognizant of what it is that the recommender systems, and they also can be used as part of the chatbots. So chatbots used to be more of a, being subject to questions, but one of the important attributes of a chatbot nowadays is to also, have some knowledge about some specific areas, be able to do some recommendations. And you have an example of a recommender systems in Amazon or Netflix, in which they recommend you products or books based on your preferences or preferences of the user similar to your profile. And this functionality can be incorporated as part of a chatbot as well. Again, we'll have a class allocated solely to the recommender engines. So I'm just going to skip through what you can read. We'll have the same charts in the recommender system class. We'll go through. Another important of the classification example, just to get you a sense of the context, is sentiment analysis, in which we have different labels for segments of the text. For example, you see on the top, the label is positive, and then the second one, the label is negative, and the bottom one is neutral. So we have a target with 3 values. So the formulation is to predict the sentiment of the given paragraph. That would be the objective of a scoring program or the model that would predict the sentiment, either being positive, negative, or neutral. Again, based on the training material that has these labels already. Otherwise, it wouldn't be qualified as a supervised or a classification exercise. You are familiar with the applications of sentiment analysis. they do that in marketing and security and mental health on using Twitter data, you name it. It's the variety of applications is, for example, in dialect systems also, we look at the sentiment of the response from the user, so we make the chatbot sensitive to the sentiment. Feel free to take advantage of these capabilities as part of the definition of your objectives as the final. These are different applications. We'll have a session on question answering. We'll discuss the ontology development, which is part of the construction of the knowledge, so that we can manage the training of a chatbot more efficiently. We'll discuss in more detail later. Again, this first class, I want you to have a broad perspective of the expectations of the course and what are the objectives of the course. Towards the end, I'd like you to have a good command of classification and clustering techniques, and also be able to implement a chatbot and be aware of the top-notch frontier of the research in these areas, and be able to incorporate the recommendation features as part of your chatbot development. So all of these, you will be orchestrating all these activities and skills as part of your final project. So the assignments is kind of a breakdown of these activities, but then you repeat them as part of your final. Any questions? I want you to be clear when I'm preaching about the formulation of the task, I should be doing that myself by telling you what is the expectation right off the bat, so that you have a good understanding of what it is that you need to work on. Again, be disciplined, this is the scope, focus on these topics and learn them by heart. Again, the class is very interactive. Participate in the class and have interactions, raise hands, ask questions, do the presentations, and you'll be set to go in your career. Hopefully you decide to continue. So be cognizant of the emotions, be confident, stop worrying about the whether you have the enough background or not, be at the same time be realistic, but be very positive, so that when you decide to go ahead with the course, don't let any negative feeling creep back into our emotions. I really like the Dunning-Kruger effect, because it's the opposite, and we do all respect, and I've seen it in some of the colleagues that are the opposite. They don't have a sense of the things that we do not know. So there is a balance, the golden rule, the balance. So not to be totally negative, but at the same time not to be totally positive. The story of the Socrates. Socrates was the god, according to Plato's story, told him that he was the most knowledgeable, but he was so surprised when he saw that dream, and then the rest of his life he tried to find out why he was the most knowledgeable, and at the end, towards the end of his life, he finds out that the reason he was more knowledgeable was that he knew that he didn't know. So the Dunning-Kruger effect is when the opposite. So knowing, we something we do not know is an important knowledge in itself. Obviously, you know that, but I just want to repeat that it is important to know what we do not know. So mathematically, there are 4 categories: things we know that we know, things that we do not know that we know, or things that we do not know that we do not know. So that's very bad, right? So we have to try to know what things there are that we do not know, but then don't let that disappoint us. Or you know, the Newton, you know, towards the end of his life, he said to himself, you know, after all this knowledge, he just had a, you know, the ocean of unknown is in front of him. So being cognizant of that ocean is important, but not letting it damage our emotions. So 2 of the, you know, building blocks of from the Python programming point of view that I want you to start working on are 2. One is regular expressions. The other is, you know, maintaining the data using library called pandas. So you're going to have 2 individual assignments with regards to these 2 skills. You know, knowing the library and knowing how to use it. So what is regular expression? By the way, that is pronounced Kleene. Kleene, the scientist who created using Perl. The regular expression is, so what is the requirement? Again, what was the formulation of the problem? Was when I want to search something in a string. And then there are patterns that I can imply what it is that I want to search. So the regular expressions is a very strong programming skill that we can manipulate text using regular expression. And by the way, if you apply for data science jobs, which I hope you would, if you already don't have, one of the, you know, 95% questions that you get in a test for your interview is with regards to regular expressions, especially if they want you to do natural language processing. So highly recommended to learn regular expressions. So how Kleene went about doing this is you provide a pattern as part of the search, and then the program would bring back based on the pattern that you specify. So the devil is in the details when we do the programming. So these are the different examples, just scratching the surface. Again, it's you're expected to take leadership on your learning, because the amount of knowledge is certainly beyond the time we have together. But my objective is to show you the path and give you some guidance and support, and then you are responsible to go through the path. So you are expected to learn regular expression and be able to use it effectively. And these are the examples of the patterns that you provide as part of the search so that it brings back. For example, in here, I want to bring back the woodchuck, but either it's start with lowercase or uppercase. I want it to be brought back. In this case, I want the digits, any string that has these digits to be back. But equivalently, I could provide it with a range as part of the pattern of the search. So you see, this is the not symbol when it comes in the beginning, and question mark is whether it ends with S or not. So the last one is trivial. But you only learn this by practice, okay? So you have to try it and get a good grasp of how it works. Kleene star is a wild card, plus sign. Anchors are, beginning and end of line. B, /B is a boundary of a word. And I want to, disjunction is or. I want to bring back all instances that are either cat or dog. And I want the copy either, plural or singular state to be back by the search. Also, in conjunction with the patterns, there are some functions that are available to me as part of the regular expression Python library. So I give you 2 minutes break that you get your Google Colab up and ready so that we can try some of the examples within the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes left together. So you can have Python installed on your local machine, but there's this cloud facility, Fabulous Online by Google. It's called Google Colab if you're not familiar already, that you can also take advantage of as an alternative development environment that is available using your Google credentials.
Sir, can you type that in chat? Is it just Google Colab for collaboration? That's it?
Okay. If you...
I believe it's Google Code Lab.
All right, got it.
I also made the example codes available on the week 1 overview on the Brightspace. If you could download, get the Jupyter version, download it. I have one regular expression _1 program. Another one is an introduction to pandas. You can download the Jupyter versions so that you can upload it on your Colab and run it today together. So you can get a sense of what we mean by regular expressions. Do you see the code example on the Brightspace? So when you download the regular expression _1 and you upload it in your Google Colab, you see my Google Colab, right? So in this section, I'm using the find all function of the regular expression. I'm importing the regular expression library and searching the AI within that sentence. Make sense? Sorry. I'm assuming you are seeing my...
Yes, we can see.
Okay, thanks. So let's go through that quickly together, and then you can try it. Another function is the search, and I'm providing the pattern. What does this pattern says? I'm looking for white space. And then the result is at location 3, is the first white space that the search is bringing back. Next, split each white space character. So I'm using a different function here. Split is another function that is basically bringing back all the words of the sentence. So it's a breakdown of the tokens. I can use the split function to tokenize my sentences. I also can pass a third argument to the split function, and in this case, it's bringing back the first token. Interrupt me if you have any questions. Another important function is a substring, sub. It's bringing back, it's substituting, sorry, it's substitute. It's not substring. Substituting the white space with the digit 9, and that's the result. The other one is that I do the substitution in 2 instances, so that the fourth argument is the number of times that the substitute would do. So these are the variety of different ways you can take advantage of these functions for your purposes. So do the practice, and then there are so many other features that you need to look at the documentation. Again, the skill set that you need to develop is to, when you don't know what kind of problem you're going to be facing to learn everything, right? But you need to be able to find what you need when you are faced with the problem as efficiently as possible. So that's what you need to practice, be able to find what you need really quickly. And don't be frustrated, be very patient to learn that skill. Basic search. It's giving me the span of the location of that. There are 2 instances, one at location 5 and the other at displacement 7. So that's the result of the search in this case. So you could use this, displacements to do other activity, performing on this sentence. Pass those numbers to other functions and loops, for example. So any words that start with uppercase S is this way. So the word could be any number of characters, but it starts with the capital S. Again, search function, I am passing a pattern so that it brings back the search accordingly. Well, it's a double function here. I'm basically calling after the object of that search is returned. I want to know what is the span of that instance. So there, depending on what you want to do, these are the building blocks that you can use. That's it. So so there's a span, there's also a group. There are other functions that you can call after you return the search result of the regular expression. So it's bring back an object, and that object has different functions. So be cognizant of that. So important knowledge is knowing what is available, so you know what to look for. Okay, so I give you a few minutes to, again, I assume you have the Google Colab set up, so you basically upload your, download it from Brightspace, and then you can copy paste it, or you can open it from, you can do a new notebook, and then or you could copy that, you can get the Python version, copy paste on a new notebook here, or you can get the Jupyter version from the Brightspace, put it on your drive, on your Google Drive, and then you can open on your Google Drive, you will have a Colab folder. You can upload this code to that Colab folder and then open it here. Because when I open notebook here, it will list all the Jupyter notebooks that are available on my Google Colab, on my Google Drive. So there are multiple ways you can create that code and try it right now. You have access to your drive, so you can open it from there, or you can just copy paste the code. So if I want to copy paste the code here, when I have this segment selected, I just create a new by clicking here, and then I can copy and paste, right? Like anything else. And then I can delete a snippet of the code off of my Google Colab session here by clicking here. I can add a note for documentation. I can make a comment here, or alternatively, I can add a text section here at the bottom. If I wanted this to be, prior to that, I just clicked on the up arrow, so it moved that snippet of above this code, and then I can type in whatever description I want. Okay. Another example that I want you to try is the other example that I posted on the Brightspace, same week 1, is Introduction to Pandas. That is self-explanatory. I am reaching the 8:30, so you are, whoever is at rush to leave the class, you are free to go and try this on your own. or if you want to stay and try it.
Hey, Professor, I have a question.
Yes.
These are just examples we need to, you just want to show us. And we're going to learn the details in the future, right?
Yes, it's just give you a taste of what the regular expression does, what pandas library does, and then you need to go and practice more and learn more and look for some tutorials to, you know, upgrade your skill in this area.
So the tutorial will be offered by you, or you expect us to search
Oh, there are
online?
lots. Yeah, you can find it on your own. It's just a matter of Googling. There are tons of tutorials on any of these two.
All right, thank you.
I let you, you know, find that out, because that's the skill that I need you to learn. You need to learn to find what you need really quickly. So
Thank
you
you.
need to get familiar. It's these two examples just give you a sense of what it is that we are talking about. Again, you know, I import the pandas library here, and then I put some data in manually here using this series function on the pandas object, and then I can also add some population numbers, and then I can call the data frame and give him some column names like that, and you see what is inside this pandas instance. And I can also import my CSV files, large volumes. I specify the separator here is a comma, and this is a common data set that you can use. If I run that section, it reads that CSV file into my pandas instance. I give it this name, California Housing Data Frame, and the describe is a easy facility that I give me a head, you know, top the sample of data so that I get a sense of what is inside. And similarly to head, I can see the top data. And guess what? There are some good functions that you also can call. For example, I pass the name of the housing median age and quickly do a histogram on it, so that I get a sense of the distribution of the age in this data set. Okay. I let you try the rest of the program and ask me if you have any questions, but please try these two simple examples today so that you have fun with the pandas and regular expressions.
Hi, Professor.
Yes, Raghu.
Actually, should we use just Colabs, or can we use Spider or Jupyter for Python programming?
Any one of them that you like, you can use. But the reason I introduced to you the Colab, I like you to be aware of the cloud facilities out there. One of them is obviously Google, and with your Google credentials, you have free access to this very powerful Python interpreter. It's you have very powerful hardware behind this. If you go to runtime, so a lot of machine learning algorithms need a very powerful hardware. Sometimes if you run things on your local machine may take long to run. So, and sometimes my students, especially previous years, some of them didn't have good laptops. So, and another reason is it used to be a culprit to install Python on your local machine. It would maybe take a few hours for you to set up your environment, whereas this Google Colab is readily available for you. So that's why I'm not dictating any of them. It's just that I want you to have variety so that you can make progress. It doesn't stop you when you have hard time, installing some of the Python libraries on your local machine and so forth.
Okay. And for the end, like we are going to use some programs for classification and clustering, right? So are we going to use Python or R programming?
Python.
Okay. Okay,
This
Professor.
course is Python.
Okay, Professor. Thank you.
No problem. Were any of you successful to run these two programs? You're having fun with running the programs?
I did it in Spider actually, not in Colabs, but I did it in
Okay.
Spider.
Yeah, I'm trying the Spider as well.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, it gives you a good starting point so that you can be equipped to tackle your individual assignments coming soon. Look for that today or tomorrow. In the coming days, I'm going to post the individual assignments so that you can start working on it. It would challenge you so that you can learn more about regular expressions and pandas. But these two are critical for you to be successful in your assignment, group assignments as well. So they would be part of the building blocks of your Python programs to prepare the data and to organize your data and so forth. Extremely useful.
Professor, will the project rubric or more details be posted early on, or is that something that will come later after a few assignments?
Oh, I usually post them in parallel. When I post the assignment, I specify what is the expectation.
And for the final project, is that would that be posted earlier in the course or later in the course?
I try to do it, halfway through, but
Okay.
you go with the rhythm that I would tell you, so that you wouldn't overwhelm yourself. But at the same time, I would encourage you to, have a broad perspective, but don't worry too much. I don't want to make you worried about the final too early. Just focus on, every week we have some activities. Just go with the flow and you'll be good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
This week, please concentrate on learning pandas and regular expression. If you go with the rhythm that are expected and advised, then it wouldn't be in the middle of the term that you say, oh, I don't know how to use pandas or regular expression, if you did it when I asked you to do. So go with my rhythm, please.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. That's part of the reason I encourage students attend the class, so that you kind of keep in sync with the progress that we are all making together.
Hi, Professor. And regarding the groups, like we have already formed a group with 4, and I guess most of them has formed the group with 4. And we do see in the Brightspace, like you just mentioned, we can be a group of 4. So
That's my the template. I have to fix that.
Okay.
Somebody else asked that question earlier today. I said I highly recommend groups of 3, because I don't want students hide behind each other. I want to see everybody participating. And now that we have the luxury of a smaller class, I want smaller groups, because we have time for all the groups to present. So the groups of 3 is optimal. I highly recommend groups of 3, if you can, please.
Okay, Professor.
I usually have hard time people forming groups, but I was proactive this semester, and now you're already formed that you are not changing.
Yeah, like we formed it at the beginning of the class itself. Like we formed
Yeah.
the group, and we have enrolled ourselves in the Brightspace login also. So that's why I asked you.
No worries. I appreciate your asking the question. Again, I highly recommend that you be groups of 3.
Okay, Professor. Thank you.
No worries. The reason I posted group of 4 because I have you know, sometimes I have a class of 60 students. Then the groups are. If I have groups of 3, we would run out of time for the presentations. But now that we have a class of about 33 people, it's possible to have groups of 3, and we can fit the presentations in one session class. Okie doke. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did, and I look forward to have a fantastic semester together. Keep an eye on the assignments, and keep on learning your Python, and most importantly, have fun.
Thank you, Professor. Have a good night.
Thank
Have
you.
a great night.
Thank you, sir.
Great day.
Thank you all, especially logging in from far away on the globe. Thank you very much for adapting your schedule. Stay safe. Bye-bye.